tight schedule today after this?
Let me check.
Because I know sometimes folks are busy and they come filtering in and they get their coffee. Hi! Cowabunga! All that stuff. So I want to give people a chance to come in. This young fella, I remember he stuck your head out the door and said, 11 o'clock? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I'm not even done drinking yet.
11 o'clock's checkout, too.
Oh, great, okay. Oh, please, lovely, okay. So, yeah, what we're going to do is, how you doing? What we'll do is, Steph has told me that we can kind of slide in time-wise on the next thing behind us, because I want to make sure that we get everybody's questions answered to the extent that is possible. Although it's a fairly small crowd, so that shouldn't be a problem. But anyway, first of all, I want to thank my friend Christina. Look at this. How about this? My friend Christina made me a coffee cup or teacup cozy as Donnie. Christina Ballard, thank you very much, sweetie. That's great. She charged me $100 Canadian, which I thought was pretty reasonable. And I could probably get about $4 US for it on eBay. So, surprise. Thank you very much, sweetie. And so, hello, I'm Rob. I'll be your two-time turtle for the day. And before we begin, let me just tell you guys again how incredibly gracious you all have been. I have had the good fortune of doing many of these types of events, and this ranks right up there. Everybody is absolutely delightful, and I'm constantly amazed in the most profoundly wonderful way how many people pay attention to the goofy things that I do, and could not be nicer. So thank you for letting me be here. This is quite fun. I know that we're here to talk about turtles today, so I've done a couple of other panels where I do general Q&A and about other things. I don't know, they're certainly not off limits, but most of you are probably interested in turtles, which is why you took the time to come here. So I have a pretty fair amount of experience with that, at least to the extent in terms of the voice acting part of it. So usually what has worked well is Steph and her staff, the Steph staff, have set up a lovely, I think this is a Shure SM58 type microphone right here in the middle of the thing. So you guys can, actually, yeah, it's up to you. It's not a very big room, so whomever asks questions, you can probably hear them all. But if you'd like to come up to the microphone, you can ask a question, or you can, bless your heart, you're a sweet little lady there. She's just, you're done, aren't you, honey? I know. And you're still here going, hey, cowboy, power, whatever, just talk, Rob, I don't care. All right, honey, give me my earbuds. I want to listen to Led Zeppelin. So, would you guys just like to take the time and just do Q&A and ask stuff about turtles? Because that's, I can ramble on about it, but it's probably better, since I don't read minds, it's probably better if we take the opportunity, because the hour goes like that. If we take the opportunity to ask questions, and if we run out of questions, then I'll keep talking. But you guys want to do you have questions about turtles? Somebody has to. Okay, we'll take this gentleman right back here.
So, you have like a Donatello hat and now a Donatello tea cozy. Who's your favorite turtle?
Michelangelo. No, just no, I have a Donatello hat and tea cozy as a result of my incredible, did you guys hear the question? I have a Donatello hat and a Donatello cup cozy, which is my favorite turtle on Raphael. I'm in a very unique position. There aren't too many people in their careers who get to portray two arguably really iconic roles in terms of pop culture, right? That's like, getting to play Doctor Who and Batman in the same lifetime, which is unusual. At first I was going to apologize and say, I don't mean to equate Turtles with those guys, but Turtles is a pretty big deal. It really is.
Bigger.
Thank you. It's not lost on me how lucky I am. Honestly, I really don't have a preference. I like them both for different reasons, and I'm not saying that just to be diplomatic. Raphael was great because it was, pardon me, that's my parole officer. That's how he knows in Canada. Oh, I'm not supposed to travel internationally. Folks will be waiting for me at the airport. The truth is that when I got Turtles on the first time, none of us, Cam Clark, Barry Gordon, Townsend Coleman, and myself, none of us had any idea that one of us, or any of us, would be here 25 years later talking about Ninja frickin' Turtles, right? And so to that extent, being on the original show, it's like, and again, for me and my generation, it's kind of like saying, nobody knew that the Beatles were going to be the Beatles. And I'm only using that as an example because who knew that 25 years later, a company like Viacom would spend $60 million to buy this, this concern and put it out again. So that's incredible. That's an incredible thing for somebody to buy a catalog for that much money 25 years after the fact. So having been part of it at the beginning, turned out to be the first iconic role in my career, and the first reason that anybody would be kind enough to come out and hear what the hell I had to say. So it was a big deal for me. It was a big deal on many reasons. My son was 8 or 9 when the thing really hit, so as you can imagine, for me it was a thrill, and having your daddy be Raphael was pretty cool. For him, I think. He only recently has gotten out of an insane asylum. Kidding. So it was a huge thrill on a personal level, but also I got to do things that I never would have had the opportunity to do, like go to, call kids in hospitals and visit kids and have an impact on people. And I bring that up because one of the things that's so grateful, for which I'm so grateful in getting to do these live gigs, is that I always meet people on whom Raphael or other characters I've done have had a really profound effect. Whether it's I was bullied and Turtles really taught me about self-respect and I started to do martial arts and felt better about myself, or my parents were getting a divorce and my brother and I watched Turtles and it really got us through a difficult time, I never would have known that. So getting a chance to work on a project like that and the way it's paid off in incredible dividends was fantastic. And cut to today, I mean, the odds are so astronomical of the same goofy middle-aged white guy getting a chance to do another Turtle a generation later is incredible. So that's paid dividends on many occasions, for many reasons, and again, not the least of which is coming here and finding a whole new group of people who loved Ninja Turtles 25 years ago, and their kids are crazy about Ninja Turtles now, and the new iteration of Turtles is very cool. It's the scripts are great, and the guys that are making the show are primarily about your age. They're in their late 30s or so, and they grew up watching Turtles. So you can't really have the franchise in much better hands than the executive producer, Ciro Nielli, who grew up in Philadelphia, whose father was from Sicily, who owned a pizza parlor, and Ciro was a Ninja Turtle fanatic. So now he's running the show, and it's an incredible experience for me. So I can't really put my finger on which is best, but ask me in 50 years, because by then I will have knocked out all 4 Turtles. Then I'll be in a better position to answer which one's my favorite. Yes, ma'am.
Was it weird that first session of sitting in on the new one and sort of like knowing you had to do Dawn, but...
Yeah, it was a little bit weird. What happened a lot was Andrea Romano, who's our director, and Andrea directs, she's won, I think, 9 Emmys. She has so many Emmys, she dresses them in Barbie clothes. That's God's way of telling you too many Emmys. But she directs SpongeBob, she directed Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Batman. She is really the top. And every time, I've known Andrea for 30 years, and every time she would say, she often addresses us by our character names because we're doing a script, and she'll say, Raphael, would you pick up? And I immediately, my ears, it's like this Pavlovian response. I keep sliding up to the microphone, understanding that no, it's the guy next to me, it's Sean, who is Raphael now. So it was a little weird in that respect because I did 80 episodes hearing Raphael, but it was kind of cute at Comic-Con last year when we premiered the show. It was a big crowd, as you can imagine, a couple thousand people, very nice, huge screen, big deal. They had all of us there, and as many of you know, Samwise Gamgee is now Raphael, right? Lovely guy, great kid, and I worked with his father on 2 shows, and John Astin is one of my heroes as a kid. and we were doing the panel for Ninja Turtles, and so they introduced me, and I was out there waiting, and then the next guy they introduced was Sean. So Sean came out, and the one of the producers from Nickelodeon was saying, Sean is our Raphael, and perhaps you can tell us about what it's like to be Raphael. And I was sitting next to him, and I said, yeah, Sean, fill me in on exactly what Raphael is all about. And of course, he's very sweet and kind of got all blushy and started to genuflect, you know. It was a little bit odd, but still, every session, we are in our middle of our second season now, I still kind of go, I can't believe I'm doing this. And I really can't believe how lucky I am to work on a new one that the vast majority of the comments have been, you know what, it's pretty good. The comment that I get that is most gratifying is when somebody who is a huge fan of the Turtles, the original one, either texts me or writes me or sees me in a personal appearance and says, you know what, dude, I really didn't want to like this, but it's great. And that is a great compliment, because I know how big the fan base is, and I know how precious the Turtles are to a lot of people. And clearly they're precious to Viacom, because you don't just drop $60 million on a project if you don't think you can make $1 billion off of it. The toys are selling out like crazy. The action figures are freaking cool. And you go to the Toys R Us places in the United States and they're gone. And so that's a really good sign, you know. I think it's a good sign because to me it brings a great attention to the show, which I think is great on its own, irrespective of the toys. The other executive producer is Peter Hastings, who was the executive producer on Pinky and the Brain. So I've known Peter for obviously almost 30 years. And then he did Kung Fu Panda, and so his comic chops are great. So with his comic sensibilities and Ciro's respect for the franchise and knowledge of, you know, the Turtles and the action part of it, I think the action sequences are cool. The snarkiness between them, the taking the piss out of each other is very funny. And then there's a romance issue between Donnie and Marie. I mean, Donnie and, how's that? Donnie and, well, the reason I said Marie is Donnie is May. I had an M in my, Donnie, May Whitman, but Donnie and April. So Donnie and Marie, I like that. I was actually on their show years ago. And yes, it's on YouTube. You can look up Robert Paulsen, Donnie and Marie, and there I am. But maybe there is a romance between Donnie and Marie, and that'd be a felony in YouTube. Whole other line of questioning. Yeah, Donnie and April, and I have a lot of female fans who say, I just love the fact that Donnie has a crush on April, and it's this sort of unrequited interspecies romance. And so it's really sweet, yeah. So I'm having a great time. Yes, who has? Yes, sir.
I've got a couple of questions, if you don't mind, sir.
Yeah, actually, why don't you come to you have such a lovely voice, I want these folks to hear it.
First of all, speaking as a teenager in the 90s, we all had a crush on April O'Neil at that particular point in time.
And especially the April that was portrayed by Renee Jacobs, the one in the 90s, she was pretty much stuffed into that little yellow costume. I remember the first day we saw her model, her, you know, the drawing of her model, and we were all like, dude, Renee, where did those come from? Are those real? Jesus, no wonder we want to hang out with the human chick. Yeah, she was put together.
I've got a couple of questions.
Yeah.
First of all, how did it all get started for you? Like the whole getting the show together. Second of all, what do you think made the Turtles such a popular franchise? Third, did you really feel like a celebrity, or did you feel like your character was a celebrity and you just voiced him? And finally, do you have a thought and opinion on the upcoming Michael Bay project, movie project?
Okay, let me take those one. What is your name, sir?
Alex, sir.
Alex, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. So let's see. You guys can kick back. We got 4 questions. Put your feet up. The first question, I may refer to you as the expert in a moment because my brain is old. The first one was, how did this get started? Okay. In terms of my participation, it was just a typical audition. I've been an actor for obviously a long time, and at that time I think I was about 30. And I was already into the animation side of things, but still doing live action stuff. It was a typical audition. I was working on a show called Fraggle Rock. And it was, but I want to make sure it's clear. It was the animated version of Fraggle Rock. It was not the Jim Henson, Muppet version, of which I was a huge fan. But we were working on this. I was a character called Boober. Boober, and I played a character called. I was a talking trash heap. And taking all those mind-altering chemicals in the '70s really paid off for me. Kidding, sort of. And so I auditioned, and I was familiar vaguely with the comic book. I knew there was an underground comic of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I'm not a big comic book guy, so I was aware of it because it's kind of in the same genre, but I didn't really pay that much attention. Fortunately got the gig, and interestingly enough, on the first day of recording, the producers had not made a decision on which actor was going to be which turtle. So they knew that we all kind of mixed and matched on the audition. They knew that they wanted Townsend Coleman, Barry Gordon, Cam Clark, and myself. And when we got in there, they just kind of mixed and matched. And finally it was like, okay, Rob, we like you as Raphael, and Townsend, you be Michelangelo, and Barry, you be Leonardo. No, wait a minute, Barry, no, you be Donatello. Cam, you be Leonardo. It was kind of that, laissez-faire. And it stuck. And then the next, what was the second question?
Yeah, did you have what do you think about it that makes it?
Oh, what is it that makes Turtles so special? Well, certainly everybody in here may have a different idea about that. Personally, for me, as a fan of the franchise, I think that it's some classic showbiz or storytelling things that make it interesting. I don't think it's a secret. I don't think it's, part of it is great timing, I suppose. I think people like the fact that they like relationships about people who have each other's backs. They like relationships about, folks who care about each other, good versus evil. I think that they like the fact that there's a character who has a human side and a superhero side. I think that's why people like Batman. I think that and now I think the reason that folks like the added aspect of the romance issue between Donatello and April is because it's kind of like that same romance between Clark Kent and Lois Lane, and he can't tell her that he's Superman, and those are really human things. I also think that for some reason it's kind of like McDonald's. When my son was born, we never said, okay, one day we're going to take you to McDonald's. He just said one day, beep, I'm going to go to McDonald's. It was just like this weird thing. And kids seem to pop out loving Ninja Turtles when they get to be understanding, when they get to an understanding of what it is. I think part of it is a little bit of a luck of the draw, but in terms of the storytelling and in terms of the whole thing, people like relationships. They like folks. They like the Three Musketeers. They like people who stick together for, against evil. And also, there's a great bad guy. The Shredder is a badass dude. And James Avery, many of you I don't know if you know that, but the guy that played Uncle Phil in Fresh Prince was the Shredder. And Pete Renaday, who was the voice of Mickey Mouse for many, many years before Wayne Allwine, was Master Splinter. So now we have Kevin Michael Richardson, who many of you know is an incredible actor, is now playing Shredder. He's a bad mother, shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Shredder. Hi, how you doing? Cool hat, man.
Oh, thanks. Bro.
Nice. Thanks.
I like yours more.
Thanks, buddy. Well, I got mine from the con staff, so I like it. So I think that that's probably a lot of it. Does that make sense to you guys? What I'm talking about is why folks like the relationships. So yeah, I think it's a combination of good timing, classic storytelling, good versus evil, a buddy picture, band of brothers. People like guys that stick together or girls that stick together, whatever, to get each other's back, And then they fight amongst each other just like real brothers. But then they all get together, and then our show is very clear about that. There are times when, we're ready to kick the shit out of each other, and we hate each other, and we ostracize each other, but then one of us gets hurt. Everybody bands together, and they get really freaked out. It's like, dude, where's Mikey? It doesn't matter that we hate him 30 seconds ago. We got to save him. He's our brother. So I think that's all part of it. And your next question was, did I feel like a celebrity?
Yeah, did you feel like a celebrity?
I do right now. You people make me feel like And thank you for asking that, Alex, because I've always made it clear in interviews that I understand clearly that I am a part of the project, and I am an important part, to be sure, but man, I can't draw stick figures. I'm not a writer, I'm not a producer, I'm not an animator. I am a part of the project. People don't line up to see the next Rob Paulsen movie. They line up to see the next Ninja Turtles movie. And I got that from the beginning. I know that there are people who think of me as a celebrity. I don't think of myself in those terms. I understand the nature of celebrity, having been in show business a long time, and I have a lot of friends who are very famous. But I also know that I wouldn't be here if Raphael didn't look like Raphael, or Pinky didn't look like Pinky, or Yakko didn't look like Yakko. And I can do the voices, and I'm a good actor, and I'm good at my job. But they're good at their jobs too. So I've had many people in circumstances like this make me feel like a celebrity, and you guys treat me like rock stars. And every time I go to one of these, I'm just overwhelmed with the outpouring of love and affection just for my work. But it absolutely has to be made clear that I'm just a part of it. And it's not false modesty, it's the truth. I don't want to take away from the work that the other folks have done. Unfortunately, I don't know all their names because it's an enormously collaborative process, but yeah, I know that the characters are the celebrities, and the reason I know that is because when I used to call kids, matter of fact, I visited sick kids in Toronto several times when I was here playing hockey with a bunch of actors and stuff. We had a great time. And it's interesting, when I go to visit kids in the hospital, I didn't dress up like Raphael, man. You don't want to be inside those costumes, man. They're just, woo. I did that once for my kid's birthday party with an official Ninja Turtle walk-around costume. It's like being in a freaking Petri dish. Awful. But man, when they go in and these little kids, due to their diabolical circumstances, are watching what we do, you know, and they hear your voice, it's magical. They don't care that you don't look like Raphael. But it really is great when you call them on the phone, as you can imagine. I mean, when you talk to a kid on the phone and Raphael is there, or Donatello, they've been watching it every day for months. It's just like, he just told me I'm the fifth turtle. His Shredder's been seen somewhere in Etobicoke. So I've got to find Shredder. I'll make sure he's, you know, luckily nobody ever found Shredder, because there are a lot of little kids who I said, don't forget, you know, your dad's got a turtle comm, and if you see Shredder in Hamilton, you know, you call me. I thought, some son of a bitch is dressed up like Shredder. And this guy says, Daddy, I saw Shredder! Get your turtle comm out! And Daddy's going, I don't know. Daddy, where's your turtle comm? I got Shredder! Oh, Jesus Christ, you know, maybe you better not say it. But yeah, it's, that's how I know that the characters are the stars. But I'm still grateful for my cup cozy and my hat and this incredible outpouring of affection. And the last question you had was?
Did you have any thoughts on the upcoming Michael Bay project?
Yeah, you know, I was talking about that last night in an interview. You know, you guys, it's Viacom owns Paramount, and they own, I think CBS, they own MTV, Nickelodeon. It's a huge concern. I do think that the folks at Viacom heard the incredible hue and cry from the crowd when Michael Bay made some remark about making the Turtles aliens. Because I believe that the script was going to be, I think they were actually planning to shoot something this year. And it's definitely been put out for years, so somebody heard something. I don't know if that's changed, I presume it has. As a fan of the franchise, I don't understand why they would mess with something that is a proven, you know, issue. Whether or not they use the same actors in the voice thing, I don't know. That, the movie side versus the TV side, sometimes they just don't, you know, they don't coincide. But I definitely think that they've heard something which caused them to take pause and put the script on the back burner. But you know, Michael Bay's a big time director. I know people had issues with Transformers, but I can only imagine, I don't really know, but I can only imagine that the movies must have made money, or they wouldn't have made another one. I do know that Peter Cullen did Optimus Prime in the original show that I worked on, and I believe he's Optimus Prime in the movies, if I'm not mistaken. I don't understand why they didn't have Frank Welker doing Megatron, because Frank was Megatron in the show that I worked on too, and that's what people really love. I do think it clearly shows that people are interested in the really major voices in a major production like that. Whether or not they'll use us in the movie, I don't know, because I did the cartoon, obviously, but when they went and did 2 or 3 different Ninja Turtle movies, they used different actors, and they actually talked to Robbie Riss the other day, who was, I think, Michelangelo, I think in the live action movies, but Corey Feldman and a bunch of other guys, and even movie to movie, they would change, and it didn't stop making money. So that indicates to me that it's the characters that are the draw, not the voice actors. As much as I would like it to be, it's not the truth. So I don't know exactly what they're going to do, and I'm not trying to be coy. I have no connection with the folks at Paramount, but as a fan, it was clear to me that they got the message that people didn't like, at least the initial road they were going down. So I don't know. I did hear the other day that apparently Megan Fox, I think, wants to be April O'Neil. No, she doesn't. Or you don't want her to be? Okay, sorry, Megan. Who do you think should be April O'Neil?
Anyone but her.
Who?
They signed her, so.
Oh, did they sign her? Okay, so Megan Fox is April O'Neil. Deal with it. There you go. Anyway, thank you. Yes, sir.
What did you think of the various Ninja Turtle reboots that you weren't involved with? Were you asked to be, and were you asked to be involved with any of them?
Good question. Well, what I thought of them is I really didn't see any of them, and it wasn't out of, it wasn't due to sour grapes. I'm luckily really busy, and when I go home, I'm like a normal guy. I mean, I spend my days doing this, all that day, all day long, and then I go home and it's like, hey, your kid's not doing his homework, and the dog's pooped on the rug, and the toilet's plugged up, and blah blah blah, like a regular dad. So I didn't really pay that much attention to them. I definitely saw the movies because my kid, was a turtle fanatic and wanted to see all the movies. And I thought they were great. I thought they were terrific. And I thought the actors who were in them did a great job. I think there was a difference. I believe that the characters in the original Turtles were much more differentiated. Donatello was clearly the brains. Raphael was a smartass. Leonardo was a sort of de facto leader. And Mikey was a party dude. But in the movies, they all seemed to be like, whoa, party, cowabunga. They all were kind of like that, in my view. So it's not a criticism, it was just an observation. I thought they all did a great job. The one that I liked, oh, by the way, no, I was not asked to be in any of them, nor were the other actors. That's why I was so shocked when they called for me to audition for this one. But the one that I did see that I liked was at TMNT 2007, I think it was. That was great. And that James Arnold Taylor was in it, and Nolan North, my dear friend Nolan North, who most of you guys know as Drake from Uncharted and a bunch of other stuff. Nolan was Raphael in that iteration of the movie, which I thought was really good. And the only reason I saw it is because my son, who at the time was, 23, and he said, no, man, this is good, you dig this. And we did, it's excellent. And then I had Nolan on my podcast, so we have Dueling Raphaels. And now, Nolan is on the new Turtles, he plays the Krang. So it's an incredible group. It's a very kind of incestuous turtle thing, man, that happens. And we're all great friends and have great respect for one another. Nolan's an incredible actor. He's really, and ladies, he's an incredibly handsome, incredible actor. And the guy was a professional baseball player. I want to smack him. I want to say, dude, you just, come on, man. I think you got signed by
Atlanta.
Was it Atlanta? Thank you. Yeah, he's a great ball player. He got signed by Atlanta, incredibly handsome, fucking great actor, and he's a turtle. Jesus. So enough of that. And he lives across the street from Frank Welker, and those guys live 5 minutes from me. So we're all this. Jim Cummings lives 5 minutes from me, and Charlie Schlatter lives up the road. It's like we're in voice actor land where I live. So thank you for your questions. Yes, sir, Mr. Stanley.
First off, I would just like to say, when I was a kid, I was a huge Raphael fan.
Thank you, bud.
I dressed up like him for 4 years for Halloween.
Great, now you dress up like Paul Stanley for Sunday.
My question is, given the resurgence of the Turtles, if there was any other show that you worked on that was going to make a comeback today, which would you want it to be?
Great question, and I have a standard answer for that because it's true, and there was a show that did make a comeback that I wish I had been on, is Futurama. I tell folks I had probably 3 or 4 callbacks for the role of Philip J. Fry, and ultimately Billy West got the job, and they made clearly the right decision. Billy was better. And that is a show I wish I had gotten, because that was a show that kind of went away for a while. And Family Guy did too. It was on, and then it kind of went away in the fans, and there was sort of some general resurgence and interest. So either one of those shows, I mean, it would always a thrill to work with Seth MacFarlane on a show like that, and a primetime show, because it's a different, it's sort of bigger audience, the money's better. But the money, and I have to be honest, the truth is the money is sort of secondary or almost tertiary sometimes, because I don't do well if money is the driving force of why I do a project. I obviously have to do whatever work I get because I got to pay my mortgage. But if money is the primary reason, or if I start to have a slow period and I start to panic and say, oh God, I got to get this job, never going to get the job. It's all about having the passion and the drive for the work that got me interested in the gig in the first place, and that inevitably pays off in good work, which gets me the job. But yeah, Futurama and Family Guy, for sure. Tiburama in particular, because I really like that show. I love the actors on it. Maurice LaMarche, who's my friend the Brain, and is from Timmins, Ontario there, up north there. By the way, I hope I didn't offend anybody yesterday. I put a little piece on my Facebook page where I said something about, well, I'm here in Hamilton, Ontario. It's really great. It's about 20 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And I know there are a lot of, I got one guy that tweeted me, goes, dude, we don't talk like that. And I said, well, my friend Joe Watson does, and I don't mean to name drop, but I played hockey for years, and Joey Watson was a defenseman with the Philadelphia Flyers and became a good friend of mine. Joey was from, I don't know, like many bison pelts, British Columbia, or Yellowknife or something, you know, Skookumchuck. But you talk to, Joey Watson, he's had his teeth knocked out like 14 times, eh? So everything is like, hey, let's go, Robbie, how's it going, hey? Fucking cold out there, eh? He's a real hard, hard-nosed, hard-drinking sort of guy. So I did a sort of toned-down version of that. It's really great to be here in Southern Ontario. People could not be nicer, eh? Hugs and squeezing me in some very interesting places, eh? It's great fun. And so I was like, look, I'm not making fun of you. You guys, I have family here up and down the 401. I've got friends in Kitchener and Guelph and London and Waterloo and family in Hamilton and Don Mills. So I love Canada. I grew up in Flint, for Christ's sake. It wasn't a slam at the culture. This is family. But I do know people who talk like that. They're not very refined. They're all more like this. Hey, you gonna drink that there, young fella? Oh, you got a smoke on you. And I love that. So forgive me if I offended anybody who was only in jest, and I didn't know where the hell I was going. But that's the show, Futurama. I wish I had gotten. Yes, sir. Nice to see you.
Hey, nice to see you again, Rob. Given the nature of the relationship with the four main turtles on both the old iteration and the new, would it be correct to assume that whenever possible, whenever scheduling wasn't an issue, all four actors were in the same room at the same time? Mm-hmm. And what were some funny, amusing behind-the-scenes stories with both casts?
Well, in answer to your second question, I wish that I had outtakes of virtually every show I've ever done. Oh, you guys, I'm telling you. And every now and then a recording engineer will put together a compilation at the end of the year, and as a Christmas present, they just say, hey, Rob, here are all the outtakes, and they are vile. Absolutely not for consumption of the people who would be ordinarily fans of the show. However, I get a feeling this group would probably get it. Because let's face it, we're chronologically adults, and then we go in this room and we act like a bunch of 8-year-olds, and, the hilarity ensues, and often, as I said, it's not for public consumption. But in terms of the pat answer to your first question is always, as my friend the Brain says, yes, always, do we prefer to have the actors together. For obvious reasons. Any of you here may be actors. If you do stage work, ensemble work, or improv, it's always much more fun to have other actors with you. If you're in a rock and roll band, or if you're a solo gig, that's fine, but I love being with other players. And I love being with actors who are better than I, because it makes me better. I'm a golf nut and a hockey player. I love to play with guys who are better players, because I have to. It raises the bar. Makes me a better performer. So always would we prefer to have the actors together. And just about, I would say 95% of the time in the original show, we had everybody together. I mean, Shredder, April, Splinter, everybody. Krang, Pat Fraley, oh my God, what a knucklehead he is, incredibly talented. and all the turtles, because it just lends the cohesiveness, and I think it lends to the product on screen. Nowadays, we have two actors in particular, Sean and Jason Biggs, who do a lot of film work, and Jason is doing a TV show in New York right now. So he's not available to record with us as much as we'd like. But the beauty of technology is, which we didn't have in the 80s, the technology now is we have real-time recording via, not Skype, what's it called, ISDN, where we can record in almost real time. There's a little bit of a delay, but they can pick up the actors if they're in another part of the world, and the transition is seamless. I miss him, and I miss Sean when they're gone, because they're integral parts of the show, and we always feed off each other, and trust me, the stuff that goes on between those takes is pretty wild too. I mean, let's face it, Jason Biggs is famous for having sex with a pie. So we know that when Jason is in the room, it's going to be gnarly, in the most wonderful way. He's a great kid. And interestingly enough, also, just so you know, Sean and Jason, Clancy Brown is on the show, another terrific live action actor, has been a good friend for a long time. All of these guys, no matter that they have an on-camera or a movie pedigree, they are over the moon about being part of Ninja Turtles. They don't look at it as like, oh my God, well, yeah, it's whatever. Hey, can you phone this in, or I got a tea time, or what time are we going to be done? Not at all. Just the opposite. They all had to audition. They all had 3 or 4 callbacks, and when they got the gig, they were out of their minds that they got to be one of the Ninja Turtles. These are guys who make a lot of dough, who have been in Lord of the Rings, really well-known films, and they are out of their minds about being a Ninja Turtle. So that gives you some idea of how strong it is. And if it weren't true, I just wouldn't bring it up. They really are just constantly going, this is so cool. And when we're in recording sessions together. And by the way, Greg Sipes, you know Greg primarily as Beast Boy from Teen Titans, right? And I worked with him on that. I worked with him on Ben 10 and all that. If there is any one kid, and I've said this to Townsend Coleman, who was Michelangelo, if there's a human ever born to be Michelangelo, it's Greg Sipes. He is just like that in real life, man. And if you get a chance to see any of the stuff we've done on, like it's at Comic-Con or live performances or whatever, we were just hosting the Annie Awards a couple of weeks ago. And Sipes, man, he looks like a cartoon, right? He dresses in these giant cat in the hats and purple tennis shoes and orange leather vests, and he looks like, I mean, like you would expect if you took 14 Vicodin and acid and a high school picture taken. And but he's the greatest guy in the world, and they all are. It's really a thrill. Yes, sir.
I was wondering, because Raphael seemed more sensitive to it than the other turtles, but what were your thoughts on the show's treatment of xenophobia, especially in like the United States?
Oh, the xenophobia about you mean the xenophobia in terms
like
of how the turtles were treated?
Yeah, like there's Japanese culture for them, and they're all like, they look really weird and stuff. And just like for viewers who are watching it, who relate to like these strange creatures who, like inside the show, they're just shunned by people running away and screaming whenever they actually get seen, but they still work so hard for them.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question. That's what I love about Turtles, that it really elicits deep thought. It's much deeper than just the average cartoon, Well, I think they addressed that a little bit, because Raphael in particular, in the latest iteration, as I recall, and forgive me, I don't remember all the scripts because I'm lucky enough to work a lot, but there was one show where I believe Master Splinter, Raphael is having a particular problem with the fact that these people don't like us. Why do we want to go out there? Why don't we just stay down here? What's the point of going out there? I mean, they hate us. And it was a not so subtle, I think, nod to what not only aliens, that is in the technical term, folks who are aliens who come to your country illegally, whatever, but it was also a nod to people who are different, or to creatures who are different. And I think that is a not always a recurring thing, but is a theme that's not dropped, because it happens when the Turtles people freak out and go, ah, and we spend a lot of time going, no, it's okay. As a matter of fact, Donnie does that to April's father when he's trying to, he really is crazy about April and wants to help April's father, who's been kidnapped, I think by the Krang, and when he's confronted by her father, the guy's like, no, I'm here to help you, I really am. And the guy's like, get away from me! And no, it's really, and so it's I think that the people who make the show are, and even now more so, because the people who are making it are fans, are very sensitive to that in real life and are trying to incorporate that in the show. And I think it's great because, you know, ostensibly the audience is sort of 8 to 11-year-olds, which is great because that is that's a part of life where people are beginning to develop what it is, you know, about their personalities that are going to stay with them their whole lives. And I think it's really interesting to be able to try to incorporate that into people saying, you know, just before you judge somebody, take a beat, take a breath. And I have to say, you know, at the risk of pontificating a little bit, I'm really proud of my own child for many reasons, not the least of which, and maybe you'll see this someday online, I don't know. I think he already knows this, but my son is engaged to a beautiful girl from Nigeria. And what was fascinating is when he brought this beautiful girl home to meet us, it never occurred to him to say, just so you know, Mom and Dad, she's black. And I didn't realize until after he'd left, but I thought, how cool is that? That my wife and I were able to raise a kid, regardless of everything else. He's graduated from college, he's a smart kid, he's doing well, that it never occurred to him that that was an issue one way or the other. That never would have been the same way for me growing up in 1970, Flint, Michigan, never. And my parents, God bless their souls, I love them both dearly, but it would have been an issue. Isn't that fascinating that it's not an issue for many kids? I don't think my son is unique. And I don't know if that's from Turtles per se, but I do know that that is a recurring issue where they're kind of dealing with the fact that they're shunned by society and how do we, you know, incorporate that. And again, at the risk of being too serious, but it's a great question, it's a serious question. One of the things that I love about cons and conventions, and I mean this from the bottom of my Grand Blanc, Michigan heart, is I'm so profoundly grateful that there's a place for us who love not only pop culture, but we love weird stuff, we love odd stuff. Sometimes we like stuff that other people look at us and go, that's weird. How do you like dressing up like your favorite cartoon character? Well, yeah, I do. It doesn't hurt anybody. I have been to so many conventions in my life, dozens, Comic-Con, all the big ones, and I'm a big sports fan. I don't know how many fights I've seen at sporting events. I don't know how many people I've seen thrown out of sporting events who are hammered and a mess, right? Have to be careful, cover your kids' ears because of the screaming. I have never seen a fight. I have never seen any abhorrent behavior at any convention, including Comic-Con, with 150,000 people. And I think that is such an incredible statement to the people who frequent conventions. And we know, because I'm one of them, we know that there are people who in real life have issues about being shunned, right? Have issues about whether it's their personality or different, have issues about fitting in and all of that. And they come to something like this and it's like, I'm with my peeps. You know what I'm talking about? And I love that. I love that about conventions. You obviously touched on something that's very important to me, so I appreciate that question. That's why I love that the Turtles are always trying to deal with the fact that, you know, they're not accepted by society, but they still stick together and they keep trying to do good things, even when it's frustrating and it pisses them off. So forgive me for rambling, but I don't often get a chance to speak, to preach to the choir, as it were, because I'm one of you guys and I appreciate what these opportunities afford us. Because a lot of us go out into the world and it's just like, okay, I do my gig but I can't wait to the next con because I really can go and be who I want to be. And I love that about these places. So thank you for asking me about the Turtles. Yes, it's beautiful, Christina.
What is the biggest difference between the two casts of TMNT that you've worked on?
The biggest difference between the two casts of TMNT. Well, the fact that I have two sort of, you know, TV movie stars in the group. You know, there really isn't any big difference. They're all wonderful actors. they're all still my good friends. I talk to Renee Jacobs, Townsend Coleman, and Barry Gordon, and Cam Clark, and Peter Renaday. I don't see James Avery so much anymore. I don't know if he's living in New York. I just haven't seen him that much. But the other folks are still my dear friends. And I do a podcast every week, and I had them on a few months ago to raise money for charity. We did a live Ninja Turtle podcast at the John Lovitz Comedy Club and Podcast Theater. Sold it out. We made $5,000 for the charity. We signed autographs for 2.5 hours. And the people freaked that the original Turtles were there. It was like getting the band together again, right? And so honestly, Christina, I don't think there's a big difference. They're just really talented actors, and they love the project, and they totally respect the project. And more importantly, all of us, both in the first iteration and the new iteration, really respect the fan base. None of us take this for granted. We still sign pictures. None of us go, you can't believe that these people want a turtle picture. It's just the opposite. We're just going, this is so cool. Who'd have known that this would last so long? And I submit that if we got the 4 new guys and the 4 old guys together and we sort of did a tour of North America, that we could probably get pretty kick-ass crowds. Because it affects people now from 8 to 40, really. When I go in, just with the work that I've done, and I'm just one actor, if I have a room of 1,000 people, they may not like everything I've done, but they all know either Turtles, or Pinky and the Brain, or Animaniacs, or Jimmy Neutron, or the New Turtles, or Fairly Odd Parents, or Mighty Max, or The Tick, and that's just me. So it would be unbelievable. And by the way, Townsend Coleman, just so you know, Michelangelo from the original Turtles was also The Tick. And he's a pretty incredible actor. So we got to work together on 2 shows. Wonderful. Who has another question? Yes, ma'am.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food?
Yeah.
My favorite food, let's see. I would say, gosh, I don't know, pizza? Gotta be careful because I don't say pizza, you get the hell kicked out of me and I walk out of here.
What type of pizza?
What kind of pizza? You know what, honest to God, I know this sound, what's your name, sweetie?
Teresa.
Teresa? Thank you for the question. You're so pretty. Every girl, what is it about the chicks in my God, all these Guelphians. By the way, doesn't Guelphian sound like the name of an alien race in Star Wars? Spock, be careful, the Guelphians are attacking. Oh my, here come the Guelphians. Work back your 5, sir, to the planet Guelpha. Honestly, the truth is that pizza is really one of my favorite foods. I have to be careful because I'm sort of older now and I don't want to get to be a big fat turtle. But I really do love pizza, and my favorite pizza, it's what's kind of fun when you call kids on the phone, you know, and they'll say, hey Raphael, are you having pizza? I say, yeah man, I'm having pizza. I'm having a hot fudge marshmallow, tuna fish, and sardine pizza. Ew! You know, what's your kind of favorite pizza? Pepperoni. Pepperoni, dude! Wake up and smell the Java. You gotta live, bro. You've never lived until you put pepperoni and marshmallow on your pizza. What's the matter with you? You know? So, I think my favorite pizza is probably just pepperoni. No, I'm pretty, you know, average guy. But I really do love pizza. Pizza and Indian food. I could eat Indian food my whole life. Yeah. Anybody else have a question? Yes, sir.
I'm just interested to know, what was the voice you auditioned in for Fry?
For Fry, it was pretty much my voice. I've been lucky that I've gotten a couple of shows with my voice. Mighty Max was kind of my voice. Stanley Ipkiss, before I put on the mask, was my voice. I got to be the mask. I got to do the Jim Carrey role in the animated version of the mask for a lot less money. But the cool thing about doing the mask was I got to sing the theme song, which is a kick-ass theme song. If you just go online and you Google mask theme, and it's really a great song written by 2 good friends of mine. And so that was pretty cool. But I've gotten a lot of work. Raphael is kind of my voice. Even Donatello. I know a lot of people watch the show and go, wow, that sounds an awful lot like Raphael. But what's really a cool challenge for me, and so far, knock wood, it seems to have come true, and my challenge as an actor was, how do I incorporate the sensibilities of what these guys wanted, and these guys being the producers, wanted out of Donatello without really changing my voice? Because they didn't want me to come in and be, you know, I'm the nerd guy, I'm Donatello, or I don't know, you guys, this sounds to me like it's going to blow up in our face. They didn't want that. They wanted, you know, a very normal sounding voice which was not too dissimilar to what Raphael was. But the characteristics of Raphael were completely different than Donatello. So my hope is that the new audience, even those who have watched me on the old one, will say, yeah, okay, we get that Donnie is a little different. And it's going to take a while, you know, because your ear gets used to it. So that was my challenge as an actor. But as Philip J. Fry, it was pretty much, probably like me, and Billy West's voice is pretty much, maybe a little, it might have been a little higher, kind of like this. Like, I don't know, you know, Zach Brannigan, really? I gotta go and beat the hell out of Zach Brannigan? It would have been kind of like that, which is not too dissimilar to what Billy does. But then Billy does the Professor, and he does, what's that?
Don't forget Zoidberg.
Zoidberg, right, so Billy is genius. And by the way, just because, shameless plug, those of you who don't know, I do a podcast called Talkin' Tunes, TALKIN_TOONS. It's available on iTunes. It's available at Rob Paulsen, PAULSEN, robpaulsenlive.com, which is my website, free. And it's available on my app. For those of you that have an iPhone, and soon will be for Android devices, but there's an app for me. So you can get a Rob Paulsen app. All my podcasts are available there. And this Wednesday, the 27th, at 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern, we're going to start streaming my podcast live. So on videos, but you don't have to watch it live. You can watch it after the fact. It'll be available for a free video download and a free audio MP3, I think on Friday. It's usually released on Friday as an audio podcast. It still will be, but now it'll be a video podcast as well. It seems like the next logical, you know, step in the evolution of this goofy little podcast. So it's going to be effectively like a little animation chat show. The only difference is you're going to get to hear from people who are your favorite voice actors. And the first two that are going to be on my little show Wednesday at 3:30 your time. And by the way, for those of you who want to watch, it's on Ustream TV, which is the letter U, stream, USTREAM.TV/Rob Paulsen Live. Ustream.TV/Rob Paulsen Live. And the first two guests are Maurice the Brain LaMarche and Billy Philip J. Fry West. Okay? So those two guys alone will make you pee yourself. It's crazy. And we all do our bad impression of Chris walking. But one thing you got to hear Billy West do is, I don't know if you know this, but Billy was one of the technical advisors on the, which was not a very good movie, and he admits it, but was the Three Stooges movie. Billy was one of the technical advisors because he really is like the ultimate, and he does the best Larry Fine you'll ever hear in your life. And I'm going to get him to do it on Wednesday. He says, "Hey, Mo, I peed in my shoe." It's crazy stuff. So anyway, that's the sort of round, you know that I do ramble, but I hope that got your question answered. Yes, sir?
It actually just occurred to me that your name is the same as the main character in Fight Club. Has anyone just looking at your name on a hotel reservation sheet?
Thank you for asking.
Go, dude!
I have some great Fight Club stories, one of which you guys will really dig this.
Hello, ladies.
Do you have to get off right now? No? Okay, look at this. I got these hot chicks waving to me. This is great. How can you not dig that? Okay, in the U.S. we have these stores called Whole Foods. I don't know if you have them here or not, but it's kind of an upscale, all-natural food store. You know, they have great food, but it's anyways. And often the people who work there, probably like a lot of the fancy schmancy organic food stores here. A lot of the folks are younger, they're covered with tats, and they've got shrapnel every orifice has got a ring or something. And I totally get that. I'm a little old for it, and I'm a chicken. I've had my face cut up with a hockey stick, and I don't want people on purpose shoving metal through it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. It's just an observation. Check this out. One day I was going through the checkout line at Whole Foods, and I gave the guy my credit card. And so the guy's like totally covered with tats and like this, and he goes, "Robert Paulsen? Your name is Robert Paulsen?" And I thought, it's like, I'm just going to reel this guy in because I know where he's going. So I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, come here for a second. I said, "That's me in the movie." And he said, "What?" I said, that's me. He said, you were in it? I said, no, I wasn't in it, but the story? It's about my brother. And he goes, no way! I'm like, shh. You don't want to fuck with me. And he was just eating it up. I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. And I'm reeling him in, and he said, dude, so I said, did you sign your slip? I said, yeah, this is great. He said, wow, you really are Robert Paulsen. I said, yeah, I am. So I start to leave, and I walked back, and I looked at him and I said, hey. And he turns back to the cash register and goes, isn't that great? And so to this day, that one poor kid thinks that he was the guy that sold the real Robert Paulsen. And interestingly enough, I had a friend of mine who worked on that movie doing ADR, doing a dialogue replacement at the end of the movie where they were, they hire people to come in and do voices that is in post-production. He called me up, and I was in Brian Byers, and he said, hey buddy, it's Brian. I said, what's up, man? He goes, dude, I just worked on this great movie with Brad Pitt and Eddie Norton. I was chanting your name all day. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I spent the afternoon going, his name was Robert Paulsen. His name was Robert Paulsen. And he said, Meatloaf was you. And I didn't know what he was talking about until I saw the movie. And it's actually a great movie. I dig the movie a lot. It's a great movie. So thank you for asking that. That's a great story. Anybody else have a question? I think we have time for one more. Yes, ma'am.
What is your favorite role that you have played that you would like to play again?
Well, if you stop at I like to play again, I would say my favorite role is the next one, because it means I got a job. But the favorite role I've ever played, well, to this crowd, I'd probably have to say a turtle. But no, the truth is, I would say, I get asked that a lot, and thank you. And how lucky am I that I have several choices? Most people are lucky enough to do one really cool show like Animaniacs or Turtles or The Tick in their career. I've had a couple of them. So if somebody said you had to do one role the rest of your life, it would probably be Pinky. Because a lot of girls like Pinky. Am I right, darling?
Absolutely.
Yes! And I really like Pinky, and I won an Emmy for that, so that was a cool thing for me and my family. And I got to work with Maurice, who is just, God, I love Maurice LaMarche. I talked to him last night, and he talked to me in this really great, he does the most perfect Quebecois accent. So he picked up the phone, he goes, hello there, how you are doing up there in Canada there? That was Snooch. Never like the police, He totally just went right into that there. Tell those people up there in Guelph that I love them there very much, okay? And I'm just freaking out in the restaurant watching a hockey game, hearing Maurice doing this cheesy Quebecois accent, So I would probably have to say Pinky. But I've been incredibly fortunate on so many levels. The loveliest thing about doing what I'm doing, and I promise you guys, it's the truth. I think you know me well enough to know that I'm a pretty easygoing guy. Really, I truly respect and admire the people who take their time out of their lives to watch what all of us do for a living. And I can tell you that as a person who is every bit, I'm 100% geek, baby, and I'm really proud of it. I want to tell you from the bottom of my heart how much I appreciate that you folks pay attention to what we do, and to let you know that those of us who are fortunate enough to do what we do respect you guys enough, never, as much as it is in our power, to never condescend to you, to never not get that you guys know what the story is, right? You all smart enough to figure it out. We don't have to lay it out for you. So to the extent that those of us who write and act and work on the shows, we respect you guys too much to never give you 100% of what we love to do, because you always give us 100% of your attention. So I appreciate that. So on 3, if you would be so kind, I would like to count to 3, and then we're going to yell cowabunga as loud as we can. Okay? So if any of you have recording devices, please fire them up now. And if you have cameras, all right? If we were on a fault line, we'd probably have to be careful, but what the hell. So on 3, I want you to yell cowabunga just as loud as you freaking can, okay? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Thanks a lot, you guys. I appreciate it. not run away.
Yeah. He did a puppet panel yesterday, and he made you a present.
Oh my God! Wow, look at this.
Hey. I'm a little shy. Not every day that you get some guy shoving his hand up your butt. And that's something people love to hear. They love to hear something that's a little irreverent from Yakko. So, hey everybody, Rob Paulsen has his hand up my butt. Somehow it's familiar. Hello, Guelph!
Thank you, Devin. How nice is that? That is just so sweet. I do a thing with my friend April Winchell called Sock Puppet Theater. And if you're a puppeteer, if you guys like this sort of thing, go to Sock Puppet Theater, Theatre, the fancy ass spelling web, right? Go to sockpuppettheater.com and you will love it. It's a bunch of things that April does with sock puppets, and then she gets me and Billy West and Maurice and a bunch of actors to do the voices, and it's really funny. But oh, she would love this. This is great. This is really, really lovely. Thank you, Devin. And you've even, folks, it's got the tail. Shut up. This is so great.
It was made in 2 hours yesterday at my panel.
2 hours? Unbelievable. How much alcohol was involved in this? A little bit.
We didn't hear that.
Okay, that's right. I'm not as stinkish a drunk I am. I've only had tea martinis. Well, I'll tell you what, I've had a great time. I could stay here the rest of the day, but I think there's another panel coming in. Is that right? Yeah,
We're gonna
okay.
do a photo with you with the staff.
What's that?
We're gonna do a photo with the staff. And you
Oh, honey, I'm happy to have a photo with you. That's great. Shall I stay here or go in front, or where are we taking the picture?
Right here.
Oh, good. Check this out.
Behind the
I
black
get
shirt.
all these beautiful women and handsome guys. Bear with me. Lucky me.
Everybody
Wow,
gets a
thanks.
picture. Can I drop the microphone?
It's good to be a turtle. I love being a turtle!
And look, we all agree that.
Oh, wait, you guys all agree?
Ah, God.
I've got my turtle hair. Look at this. Hey, man, the Oscars are on tonight. We're like, this is our red carpet, man. This is the paparazzi.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
The Luigi. Okay.
Luigi's taking.
Yeah, the Luigi.
Hello, Luigi.
That's my sister.
Oh my God. Your sister needs to wax her lip.